Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. I'm your host, John Drohandel, joined with our other host, Jay Marsden from the Marsden Law Group. As you can see on TV, I'm fighting this microphone here, so I'm kind of talking out of the side of my mouth. It's okay. For some reason, we've always done this. We've always had the microphones in the same place. Like we've always stood on the same side. So God forbid we ever move and you have to use the.
Well, you got to visualize it at home. The reason the mics
use
are on
the
the
pad.
sides because you want to see our handsome smiling faces on HCAT, which is here with us today. Christian manning the con, keeping us skinny and handsome. It takes ages, years off of us. Yep,
I don't feel so skinny.
No.
I don't. No.
It'll be that time soon. Weather gets nice.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me, everybody. I'm going to make an adjustment here
There you
because
go.
this is killing me.
Go ahead.
All right. Speaking of which, guess what?
That's better.
Yeah, it's better. Can everybody see my face on
Oh,
TV?
that's so much better.
All right. So speaking of which, this is what I wanted to talk about today.
Springtime edition of Money in the Law. Let's go. Let's talk about it. Let's hear about it.
Did you know? Well, what did you want to talk about?
Oh, you go first. I've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks. I know that I know we get a money. I know we get a. I want to call it a. Well, we get a money moment coming up, so I know it's happening.
Well, it's
So
not.
go
It's
ahead.
not really. It's not so much money.
I almost said money shot, but go ahead.
Which you did. No, it's actually before we even get started. Speaking of listening, guess who just helped us? I want to give a shout out to Sue here, who works here at My FM.
Who saved us?
Who just
Saved us.
saved the day. And Sue also had mentioned to me as we walked in that she listened to the show this just past Saturday.
Of course
so
she did.
Little shout out to Sue, a fan. Great job. Thanks for listening. And you know who she was listening with?
Who?
She was riding the car with one each Tom McAuliffe.
Oh, the
Yeah,
great Tom
that's
McAuliffe,
right.
the legendary, the
It's-
broadcasting legend
It's kind
himself.
of like having Walter Cronkite listen to it.
Oh God, that's exactly what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Rupert Murdoch. One or the other. One or the other. Same idea. Same positive impact on the world, but that's okay.
That's
You
right,
know,
making a difference every day.
Every day is right.
Yep.
Yep. What difference? That's history. We'll sort that out. Yep.
You know what? And although we joke around with Tom because he has a wonderful sense of humor, I will say this, and there's no arguing. Tom does make a difference, and My FM one, and I'm just doing a little My FM 101.3 promo here. They make a difference because I love the idea of locality, and nobody does it better than
Without
My
even
FM
singing that
101.3.
song, without even singing that song, I will say that, you know what? You're right. And for those of you who might be in our listening demographic, you will remember way back in the day, without mentioning any names, but you would remember what a local impact player your radio station was.
Yeah.
Right? You wanted to know what was going on, you'd flip that thing on. And by the way, you and all your contemporaries, you'd be listening to the same exact things, right? And when there was something going on locally, whether it was on the club scene, right, or the music scene, or you want to know what was happening in your community locally.
Or if you want to know if school was closed.
That's right.
How did you know?
You went to your local radio station because guess what they knew? They knew whether or not school was closed. In some cases, because their kids went to the same school.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what was going on. And I completely agree with you. My FM 101.3, based out of here in God's country, Milford, Massachusetts, they are that local impact player. They are your boots on the ground information to all things cool that's going on. I mean, who cooler than Ray to come in and say, hey, everybody, let's give you your weekend update, let you know what's going on, let you know where all the hip-hop happening stuff is going on.
And you know what? Since the conversion to FM, which is it's north of 2 years now, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
I think you're right,
so
yeah.
so since they've converted FM, and not only is it just the radio station, but they do it all. You know, with their whole social media campaign. You go on 1013.com. myfm1013.com is the website, and it's like it goes on for days with all like all the cool things, like all the coupons and all the the business things that they do and all the support, and then not to mention all the charity work that they do.
Oh, good.
Here
Get
for
back
the
to the
community.
community, never ending. So if you're within the sound of our voices, right, reach out to these guys, right? Ask them how they can work with you to be a bigger impact in your local community. Because there's not a lot of people doing it.
Yeah, and
No.
there's not a lot of people doing it, and you know what? Is it like the mainstream thing? I mean, no. Like the mainstream now is kind of this kind of global web-based worldwide kind of connection. You can talk anywhere, so you kind of lose that kind of local flavor. You lose that local kind of that taste or that scent of it, that if you will, and. And McAuliffe, again, if you're listening right now, whatever. Okay, we're not doing this to blow sunshine up you, but if he doesn't, it's like he's all in on that. He said local. He's like he's pushing the pile of chips. He's like, I'm all in on everything local.
Agreed. More community, caring individual. You will not find. Maybe Ray. You know, those two, let them gonna wrestle.
Ray's.
Up,
Well, put it this: Ray's the talent, right? Ray is the talent.
He is
Right?
the talent.
I'm not saying Tom, you're not talented. You're a talented guy. I'm sure you're good at a lot of stuff. But Ray is the talent on the.
Well, there's those who need to work at it, and then there's naturals, right?
That's
so that's really what.
And let's not forget. We now can't leave out Rick Michaels because Rick Michaels he's the yang to the yin.
He's the personification of radio history. That's what that guy is. He's got it all. He's got it all.
So when you listen to 101.3 and I hope you do. I hope you listen not only on Saturday mornings. Of course, you have to listen on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10. But I hope you're listening other times because they do play great music, but they also have so many other great things like the local sports. They have, and then in the morning, which is the actual Ray and Rick show in the morning.
It's good stuff. You don't get that. You got to find that. That's gold. Radio gold.
It really is. It's radio gold. So I encourage you to try and listen to listen to the 101.3 as often as you can, but also get involved. Like go to the website, find out more. Go to their Facebook page, find out more of what they're doing because there's always something cool going on.
It's like getting a hug for your ears. That's what it's like. I mean, listen to it, embrace it. Don't just listen to it. Embrace it. Yeah. Bring them into your heart, right? Bring them into your heart. Bring them into your community. Bring them into your home. Because, they're there for you.
Because especially people who have lived here for more than a couple of weeks, no one moves here and be like, oh, you know what, I don't want to be part of this. I don't like this community. I don't like the greater Milford downtown. I don't like Holliston. I don't like Hopkinton. I don't like
all these
Bellingham.
communities.
Nobody,
yes.
People don't say that. They say, oh, I love my town. There's so many things I like about my town. This is like, we're the quintessential New England. We're outside. We're in striking distance of Boston, but we're not in Boston. We're not in Worcester. We're not in Rhode Island. We're like right here. We're all by, this is us.
Where it all happens.
Ground
zero, right here where it all happens. Yeah.
Ground zero. Yeah.
That's it.
And not for nothing, they also have some good shows. Not to mention the one you're listening to right now, which
funny you should mention.
Funny, oddly enough, what a coincidence!
What a great lead-in!
What a coincidence! It's us.
Almost like it was planned.
So this is what nothing like dragging it out. So when we come back from our first break, this is what I want to do.
What do you want to talk about?
I had a great idea.
Go ahead. I can't wait.
Spring cleaning. But not spring cleaning like actual cleaning out your stuff. Although Christian did give me the idea that you could actually do some spring cleaning, but spring cleaning for your finances, for your estate plan.
This is it. Let's open up the file cabinet.
There you go.
And let's start pulling out.
There you go.
Some manila folders.
Yep. Let's look at everything and let's see what we got. Let's make sure we know what we have. A really important thing we're going to talk about is checking your beneficiaries and just again, you can't do this. After you do it, you're never gonna be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. What a waste of time.
Well, not only that, but if you do it with some regularity, it's not a chore. It's quick. It's over. It's quick, right?
It's easy. So, easy, and then you know what? It's not this daunting thing like, oh, when the hair on the back of your neck doesn't stand up when you talk about what's going on with your estate plan? Do you have a durable power of attorney? Is it and all that stuff?
That's right.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about that.
Go get on your house coat. Get on your financial house coat. Yeah. The one just to see, right? It's old school, right there, 1950s. You're walking around.
Are you talking about like your Hugh Hefner robe? Or am I confused?
That's for not at night. I'm talking about put your hair up in curls, get your house coat on, light up a parliament, and let's clean this place up.
Erica Harich and Kenny Sawyers right now. Put your curlers in right now.
That's right.
I know you two are listening.
That's right. Newport's for you, Kaharich. Parliament for you, Sawyers. We know how it works. Old school. Let's get at it.
You both need to quit smoking
now. Let's get at it right now.
We'll be right back and we'll talk about spring cleaning on My FM 101.3 Money.
And the law.
And the law.
And we're back. Money and the Law, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden, the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Main Effort Financial, both located in scenic, beautiful downtown Holliston, Massachusetts. We're about a 5-iron from each other, which is good because more often than not, I find myself borrowing John's employees for much of the work that we do over at Marsden Law, which
I don't borrow anything from Jay.
Always grateful for them. Always grateful for them. You're always welcome to my Scotch. Help yourself. Come on down.
Did you drink that scotch that I gave you for your birthday?
Oh, like it was just like probably before you get back to your car. How about that? Before you even get back to your car.
That's what it was
gone.
meant to. It was
That's
meant to be drank.
Exactly right. It's not for those are not for display. Those are not for display.
Not for
no,
display
no,
only.
No, that's right. That's right. That's not
The idea came up. Remember when we talked about this, years and years ago, when we talked about actually joining forces, which is not out of the question. He never says no. He never says no. I never say no.
No.
We haven't said yes yet, but who knows, right? But one of the things that was part of that when we were framing that up was that we would have the actual service, like working wet bar in the office, somewhere in the office that had a tap.
Yep.
And
that's right.
That someday, I will tell you that someday I will have that in my office.
Gold standard.
And I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Don't you worry.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And when it does, they're going to beat a path to our door. Nobody with any money. No one's going to.
So why do you use Strohan Free Financial and Marsden Free Legal? Well, two reasons. Number one,
free. The second one is beer.
Beer, beer, alcohol. I think they have more alcohol than copy paper down there. It's a really great setup. So we're talking spring cleaning today, which is a great. Obviously, being spring, it's a great time to talk about this, and it's something that comes up on a very regular basis. I will give you on the law side, just to kind of kick this puppy off. I'll give you a classic example of what we see.
Kick this puppy off what? That's a terrible analogy. Kick the puppy off what? Kick it off this.
Kick it off the porch. Whatever. Right? So I can't say kick this baby off. That's even worse, right? So let's kick this topic off. Kick this topic off, right? So a couple of things that we've seen. This has come up a couple of times. Recently, I had some clients that come in the office to talk about spring cleaning, right? And they came in and they said, "Oh, we want to get our documents updated. Last time we did these, it's been a while, so we want to kind of go over these." And I said, "Yeah, great. Just let me see which ones, what you have." They hand me over an envelope that has their documents in them. I pull them out, and every once in a while, if you think way back, right, copy machine, pre-word processing software, every once in a while somebody will show up with something that literally is the equivalent of rice paper with words typed on it.
Because you could erase it, right?
Oh, I'm not even sure.
Because it was erasable paper, wasn't
I don't know
it?
what it was. I mean, it was that thin paper that you almost look like they're putting on burn victims,
That's
right?
good stuff, yeah.
They pull it out, right?
Wasn't the Declaration of Independence written on this?
Exactly. I'm expecting to open it up and like the Gettysburg Address. This might be worth something, right?
I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to make you a copy of this.
I'll make you a copy. We keep the originals here at the firm. That's how we do it, right? So I pull this paper out. It's like literally tissue paper. And I unfold it as carefully as I can, like I'm like an archivist, right? And I look, and it is their wills, and they're from 1964.
Yes, sir.
I said, well, these probably need to be updated. Oh, and by the way, here's the other thing that we need to focus on. They're not signed.
All right, why would they?
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't have to sign anything back
You've had 64, I'm not even going to do the math, right? You've had 50 years to sign these things, right? so it happens, but but what happens along with that is usually people come rolling in with their estate plan looks enormous, right? They come in with this giant folder, and they drop this folder on the desk, and the conference table is groaning under the weight of the paperwork, right? And then when I open up the document, 80% of it is junk, right? It's junk. It's an old light bill, right? It's a receipt from the Columbia Record House because they bought the Seals and Crofts. You got to pick six 8-tracks. So it's that.
Don't even get me started on that. I could spend the rest of the show talking about that. That was the greatest. I never understood it. It always baffled me. I'm like, oh my God, how can they make money on this? 1 penny. Remember, and you tape the penny to it?
Well, and you're committing a crime because the minute that thing goes in the mail, you're not buying the other 7 records.
No.
Nobody buys the other 7. No. It was insane.
No.
But whatever, different story. So people would come in, and they come in with old versions of their documents, old documents that have never seen the light of day and weren't what they wanted, or they come in with copies of their drafts in the originals and all this other stuff. So these are the things that once you sign your new documents, you talk about spring cleaning, anything that looks like, walks like, talks like an estate plan, it's no good anymore.
Yeah.
Right in the shredder. Let's get rid of it, right? Let's toss that stuff out.
So there's, and probably those people that you're talking about, they're of the mindset that they're afraid to throw things away. I mean, a lot of people are like that, and that's not a bad thing. You're like, oh, I don't want to, I just want to make sure I don't throw something away that I should have kept. So what do? I mean, that's when. So if you pull out your estate plan, and like we said, that'll be the first thing we talk about, right? Our sprinkler. We're going to pull out our estate plan. We're going to dust it up. We're going to say, okay, here's our estate plan. We haven't looked at this. We were supposed to look at it before the year end. We didn't do that. We were supposed to look at it before last summer because Jay told us to do that. We didn't do that. We were supposed to look at it this time last year. We didn't do that. So we haven't looked at it, whatever, how long. Time to pull it out. So we pull it out and then bam, we throw it on the table. And like you said, maybe there's other things. There's other docs like drafts. That's a great idea, right? The great thing like, the first draft, the second draft, there's
Absolutely right.
several different. So pull it all out and you say, okay, what do we need and what don't we need? And if you don't know, then guess what? You pick up your phone and you say, hey, Jay, listen, we're doing our spring cleaning because you told us to do that on Saturday.
Because we're listening to your show. That's right.
Yeah, and so I'm speaking on behalf of this attorney. What's he going to do? He's going to say, well, all you need is the one that you signed. If there's a notary seal on it, he's going to say that's the one you keep. Everything else you can throw away. And oh, by the way, because you did it here, I got a copy of it. So if by chance you threw away the wrong thing, we can make sure that we have the right stuff.
I'll tell you, and you know what? And if it really gets a little dicey, you know what we'll tell you? Come on down the office.
I'll show you.
Bring it with you. We'll go through that in about 8 seconds.
Yep.
I'll tell you all the stuff you need to keep. We'll tell you all the stuff you need to get rid of. And we might even volunteer to shred that stuff for you if you don't want to walk out the door with it, right?
No
So
kidding.
you walk out with a nice, clean, streamlined, probably just made 4 inches of space in your file cabinet.
So if I'm and the other reason, so again, just to reduce the clutter and to reduce the other reason why I want to pull out my estate plan is because, like you said, maybe I haven't looked at it since 1964 or 1984 or 2004, and things have changed, and I just want to make sure that it's doing everything that I have, right? Maybe I look at my estate plan and I didn't use this attorney the last time, and I'm like, yeah, I got my will, we're all set. We even have a trust, we're all set, and we have. Wasn't there some other thing we're supposed to have? Is there some other kind of health thing that we're supposed to have?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't see it. Do you see it? I don't see it. Jay, we don't have this, and you're like, and your attorney says, oh, you're talking about a healthcare proxy. Here's why it would be a great idea to have this, and he'll give you a laundry list of reasons, and he'll say, come down and do it.
Well, here's another reason you want to get rid of this old stuff, right? Remember, if you've made changes to your plan over time,
yeah.
right? Not only is it useless, but you may not always have made changes for good or for bad reasons, but whatever the reasons are that you've made changes, hanging on to all your old documents, essentially in some respects is an audit trail, or could be perceived as an audit trail of family dysfunction, right? All the changes that you've made, right, have been in response to other things that have happened in your life, and probably not things that have happened to you, right? So if you have a challenging relationship with your children, and you have a particularly challenging relationship with one of your children, and then when you're not around, and somebody goes in and finds 5 estate plans that you have over the years, and they can see where you were going to give them something outright, and then you were going to give them nothing, then you were going to give them 20%, then you were going to give them 2%, then you were going to put all their money in trust so they don't get a hold of it. Then you probably don't want that audit trail of your decisions as it relates to challenging relationships hanging around. You want one plan that represents your most recent wishes. You don't want somebody to be able to go through and see all your places where you second guess things. And then to your point, John, somebody might say, one will leaves me nothing. One will leaves me $1 million. Which one of these two, if I'm the first one to the house, which one of these am I going to pick?
Works? Which is the right
pick?
one?
Yeah, that's right. Is this a test question? Is there a C answer? It's not all the above. It's let's pick one, right? I'm going to pick the one that works for me.
This one probably looks like it's on the newest paper.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you have these types of issues, you don't want 3 powers of attorney hanging around that you don't know how many you have, or that may have named person A and then switch to person B because person A, for any number of reasons, shouldn't be in the mix anymore. You go to person B. So on the estate side, you want to get these things organized and get rid of all this old stuff, clean it up, get it out of there, and then just focus on the one plan that you have. And your estate planning documents, I mean, they're good. They don't expire. There's no date on them. But from a time perspective, and then I'll turn it over to the money side of it. There's for the IRS purposes, how long do they want you to hang on to records? Because
7 years.
All right. So the reason I say that is because it makes it very easy in your own mind to say, if it says 2011, get rid of it. And you don't have to worry anymore about do I keep it or don't I keep it. If it's more than 7 years old, you can toss it, knowing down the road if somebody comes looking for it, you can say, look, that was more than 7 years ago. I don't have it. If the government doesn't care, if the IRS doesn't care, I don't think anybody else is going to care.
You know, I think the other part of this is I love the idea of cleaning, and I love but it's for me it's I put my hands on it, right? So what do you do? Like, everybody's so busy, you get caught up in like just life and work, and everything that's going on at that particular time, and I forget. Like, I this is what I do for a living. And I'll forget, okay, wait a minute, I just to review, in my mind, the beneficiary of this particular part of the trust, or just, it's good to review kind of what you've done. And not as if you're going to make changes, but just so you know, just so it's clear in your mind, like, okay, just so we know, just if I get asked or if something happens, because that's the thing, we make these estate plans for the reason in that someday, many years from now, that's when these things are going to come into effect. There's always the chance. It's the unlikely chance. It's the odds that this is going to happen are very slim chance, which is good, but there's the chance that you may need to put this into operation sooner rather than later. And if it's not correct, or if it's not the way you want it, or if it's not up to date in your mind, then you've wasted your time.
And to your point, it's muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
If we had a meeting a year ago and we did a deep dive on all these documents and what they mean and why they mean what they mean, and then we bundle them all up and you put them away, and if you don't look at them for 20 years, then when you finally do break them out, you're obviously starting all over, right?
Yeah.
You pull these things out once a year, you give it a quick once over to say, okay, these are the things we talked about. You're going to have a much better sense of saying, yep, that's right, that represents what we wanted. I remember talking about that. It wasn't that long ago. Great, everything's fine, and then away it goes for another year.
But the other thing it could do, it could also trigger something, right? It could also it could make you think of something else that you have to do. And you say, oh, wait a minute, my daughter is going to turn 21, or my daughter is going to turn 25 at the end of this year. That means that this is going to change, or that means that at some point, God willing, my kids are going to grow old, and my kids are going to, so if I have this trust that leaves them as the beneficiary, and maybe there's language in the trust that says they get only a certain amount of their assets, or like we've talked about many times on the show, things change. Like maybe your children get married or they get divorced, and there's something that you want to update because back when you did it 5 years ago, it made perfect sense. But that was the 5 years ago picture. Now the picture's different.
Well, and something's changed in your own personal life. Your health changes, right? Talk about the wild card. Nobody predicts what their health changes look like. So if since you've done that document a year ago, and now here we are a year later doing some spring cleaning, and you realize, oh, you know what? In the past 6 months, we've got some bad news, or some not great news, or some news that we think may need to warrant us making some changes to what we've done, then let's have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a discussion. And just, even if you just pick up the phone and say, hey, if it was me, for example, hey, Jay, this is what's going on. This is the information that we recently came across, or we were told that we didn't know when we first developed this plan. Any changes on your end?
Yeah.
And the answer is nope, we're good. Or, you know what? Let's set up an appointment. Come on in. Let's sit down and see what we need to do. So, to your point, it may jog your memory not only that everything is fine, but everything might not be fine. And let's figure out what not fine looks like and what does it mean for us.
The other cool thing is and we're kind of plugging, our maybe not necessarily us as your particular advisors, although advisors that were a lot like us, and that if it were me, and someone said, hey, I have a question about, my beneficiaries. I have a question about something. I have a question like, why did I do this? Why am I not contributing to my Roth IRA? And then what it does is, then you kind of put it on to your advisor, who said, look, you call me anytime, right? If your advisor says, call me if you have any question. Every email that we, when we send or any letter or correspondence, it says, call me if you have any questions or if you need anything. That's what it says specifically. So when someone does that, they're like, hey, I have a question, and it may be nothing more than just they need to get, reminded of to why we're doing a certain thing, or just to verify, hey, I think I had, my wife as a beneficiary, but as we got divorced. I just want to confirm that we changed that.
Well, actually, not only that, I'm going to build on that real quick with one comment. I'm going to build. So, I'll pick on some of these bigger that will go unnamed operations, for example. If you're not necessarily working with the same person over and over and over again, or you work with a couple of different people, some of the planning that you might find yourself doing with, let's say, somebody like Main Effort Financial and John, who can really kind of customize a conversation and address some very specific issues. The way your plan and the way your arrangements, if you will, might be set up through John might defy conventional wisdom for all the right reasons, okay? There might be a very specific reason as to why you're doing something. When you go run off to somebody else who deals in a world only of conventionalism and isn't sort of wired to figure out some of these things, you are not going to remember why you did these things. You know, you're not going to remember why you're specifically not leaving your IRA to your spouse, when these other people are so conditioned to say, oh, no, you always leave your IRA to your wife. And here's why. Because they just had wife and husband IRA training, and that's all they know about, right?
Yeah.
And so then you find out, no, we purposely skipped each other because of these reasons.
Yep.
And then you don't. So again, some of these, especially some of these more convoluted plans where you need a regular refresher, the spring cleaning concept puts it out there again where you can say, no, I remember why we did that. I don't know the details, to the degree that John does, but there was a method to that madness, and we're on the right path.
One of the other, all right. So let's caveat this over to the money side. So, and again, it's not. They all kind of work together, particularly when we're talking about kind of long-standing documents. With us, all roads lead to retirement, but at the same time, retirement then is kind of it's championed by the estate plan, because if everybody's plan works out according to their plan,
oh yeah,
then I retire happy, and there's something left over that is going to get passed on to my legacy, to my heirs. So, everybody is working together on this. So the idea of one of the big things that comes up that people always often have questions about or often need to refresh their minds on is their life insurance, right?
Oh,
so.
yeah.
So, God willing, you bought life insurance when you were young. So most people, if a lot of people do, they'll buy life insurance when they're young, and they'll be like, yep, I buy life insurance. I'm 28 years old. It costs me next to nothing. They're practically paying me to have this life insurance policy because when I got it, I'm so healthy.
Yep.
And then as time goes, and remember, you're dealing with numbers that are 10, 15, or 20 years ago. So when somebody bought $1 million policy, in 1990, that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a big death benefit, right? So then, now you fast forward another 29 years, and now you're in 2019, and you're like, wow, that's not as much as we thought it was going to be. That's not
Yep.
that's $1 million isn't the same as it was back then, because, well, wait a minute, if $1 million translates into an income of $50,000 to $70,000 a year, that's not enough. That's not going to be able to replace my income. So again. And the other part of like the spring cleaning piece is that you get your hands on it. So oftentimes people they're in their filing cabinet, or however you file your stuff. You have kind of your fireproof box. You pull those things out because you never do. You never go in there. Pull them out, look at them, and say, we have 1, 2, 3 life insurance policies. I forgot we did, but now you're reminded that we did. And then you open up the first page or the second page, and it says, this is the death benefit. And oh, by the way, if these are term policies, then what does that mean?
Oh,
That means that at some point, if you're lucky, right? If you're lucky, because we buy term policies to outrun them, is that term's going to expire. So if you bought a 30-year term 27 years ago, then guess what? In 3 years, you're looking down the business end of having that life insurance policy expire.
Oh, and if you bought a 30-year term policy 31 years ago, then you don't have insurance
it's too
anymore.
late. That's right. So then you're that policy that you're holding in your hand, and hopefully you've been made aware of this by the insurance company or by your advisor or both, that policy has since lapsed, and
Yep.
and you know that, and you're aware of that, and that's part of your plan. You allowed for that to happen.
Well, the other thing that we see a lot is we see people come in with insurance policies that are not $1 million term policy. We see people come in all the time with the $5,000 John Hancock policy.
Those old school.
That's right. Same thing. You break it out. It's like unfolding a tablecloth, right? They unfold the contract and it's folded in 50
pretty.
different ways.
Like, I mean, it's almost like you're like, I don't know if I want to throw this out.
It's got artwork on it.
We used to have those old
Frank.
Franklin Life ones, and they were beautiful. They were like these like bound things.
Yeah, they always-
Somebody spent time putting
There's
those things
three,
together.
there's 3 things on them. They always
Yeah.
have the Statue of Liberty, an eagle,
And
an
Ben
eagle,
Franklin.
and an American flag,
right.
and some dead president. Right, always on the policy somewhere. Right, and
That's
that,
right.
you know, maybe it's the president wrapped in the flag with the eagle on his arm.
There's- there's-
making out with the Statue of Liberty. I don't know, but
Well,
it's something.
Well, once Liberty Mutual came along and kind of stole, like kind of OpCon the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty went away.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
They were the only. They're like, I'm not putting that because then I'm advertising for Liberty Mutual.
That's
but,
right, that's
but,
right.
But you're right. There's always an eagle. There's
Yeah.
always an eagle
something.
with some form of the colors of the American flag.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
yeah.
something. You feel so patriotic, right? You can hear the eagles like circling overhead while you're signing the contract. I mean,
Abraham
it's
Lincoln.
crazy.
He's talking to me. That's
That's right. Oh, Abe, you're a great salesman. Yep. So I'm going to put down my Gettysburg Address right here so you can send it
It's
to me.
so
I'm just
true,
hanging
though,
out
but
there.
God bless them. God, we always talk about life insurance guys, and I talk about the life insurance guys that brought me into the business. I mean, you want to talk about, there is nothing, I would argue this.
Oh,
there is nothing,
baseball, apple pie. That's exactly what it's all about. Right?
nothing more American than a good old-fashioned whole life policy.
There's nothing more American than the guy selling it, right? I mean, it is like it's like having Patton
That
or
is-
Eisenhower
that's
walk
right.
up your front walkway, right?
Dwight Eisenhower is my representative.
That's
and he
right.
is-
No relation. No relation. No relation. I just changed my name to that because it helps me sell policies, right? I mean, it's
I love the name Dwight.
It's unbelievable, right? So these policies, when you find them in the 5,000, 7,000, there's a legit conversation that can happen that says, look, do you even need to keep carrying this
Yeah.
policy? What's your cash value of this policy? What was the purpose that we bought this policy? And you know what? Maybe we can get rid of it. And maybe when we get rid of it and you do something else with the money, but it would help clean things up, right? It's another bill you're not going to get. It's another invoice you're not going to have to read. It's another check you're not going to have to write. And it's another folder that we can toss outside of the file cabinet and really streamline this process.
And it's funny. So with new clients, that's a great point. When new clients come in and they have those things, and the question you asked, the same question. So do you have any life insurance? And like, oh yeah, we got life insurance. We got some life insurance we bought a million years ago.
We had tons of it.
Yeah.
Tons of it.
What's the death benefit? I don't know, $10,000. And you're like, okay, wow, that's a lot of money.
Spread across 13 policies.
Right? That's a lot of money if you found it in the car or somewhere else. But from a life insurance standpoint, it's not really a lot of money. What's the purpose of that life insurance? And then it kind of generates the life insurance. The discussion of what is the purpose? Why? What is that life insurance intended to do? How much does it cost? And then the idea of cash value. If there's a cash value in that policy, then you're like, wow. The death benefit is $10,000. I have a cash. I'm 64 years old, and I have a cash value of $7,800. And then there's ways in which I could increase my death benefit by using my cash value, or I could use my cash value to pay for my life. There's a number of different things you can do other than kind of cashing it out, but. At that point, we'll ask the question. We'll say, okay, so what's the purposes? Oh, this is the purpose. Oftentimes we get this, to bury me.
That's right.
The
That's
purpose
right.
is to
Put me in the ground.
To put me in the ground, so no one has to worry about anything. I'm like, well, okay, that's good. But you also have $850,000.
$1,600,000 in your brokerage account.
That's right, and you have a couple properties that you own. So I don't think the funeral cost is really the thing that you're worried about now. However, you have $7,000 in here that you could use for something, right? Yep. And you could use for something right now that you may or may not that you didn't think of, or you may want to say, look, or you may keep the policy. And I say, well, one of the things you can use is you can use that cash value to pay for the policy, so you don't have to pay for it anymore.
Right.
Whatever the reason is, but it's oftentimes. You'll like I said, with new clients, you'll get this kind of awakening, and it starts from like, okay, hey, go in and clear this stuff out, because we'll have new clients come in, and I'll say, do you have any life insurance? And they'll say, and they'll say, yeah, we do. We haven't seen it in forever, so it'll instigate them to go ahead
that conversation
and pull it out and check it out and do their spring clean. All right, so that's one. So life insurance is one.
A quick break, and then we'll come back and do the other ones.
Super quick. All right, we'll be right back. I'm on the Law IFM 101.3, Holliston Cable Access TV. Again, our favorite TV station, our favorite TV place. It makes us look somewhat
almost better than we really are in real life.
Somewhat younger than we really are. We'll be right back.
And you are back, Money in the Law, My FM 101.3, J. Marsden, Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main Effort Financial, right down in beautiful downtown Holliston.
No, we're
Right now we're in downtown Milford, but we work in downtown Holliston. Play all over the place.
2 downtowns.
Yep, two downtown. We're downtown.
When anybody asks where's your office, I say, oh, it's downtown.
Yep, there you go. State Street,
End of story.
State Street, Congress Street, we're
Downtown.
Yep,
It's
downtown.
right down there. Yep, right in the heart of it. Right in the middle. Yeah, right in the
Heart of it is
epicenter.
right, epicenter. Good point.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Got it. So we're talking spring cleaning. We just cleaned out your estate plan. Done. Get all the old documents out of there. Get all the evidence of who you left out of your will. We cleaned all that up, so you don't have to worry about that. Nobody will speak ill of you at the funeral. And we just talked about cleaning up your
Insurance
Insurance
policies.
policies.
Yeah,
Right.
life
Get those out of
insurance.
there. Let's clean them up. If you can use them, you can put them to good use. That's great. But there's
But just
an
look at them,
analysis
get them
that goes
out,
on.
get them
Yep.
out. And if you don't understand them or you want someone else to look at them, have your person look at them, your advisor.
So here's the other things you're going to find in your file cabinet that we love to clean out. Okay, first of all, again, they are artwork. There's actually a whole industry around collecting these things, and they are your stock certificates.
Ooh.
Remember those? Remember those, huh?
Yeah.
Have a couple of those kicking around, because Grandpa didn't believe in banks,
No
didn't
way.
believe in the
Didn't trust the
government.
banks.
I want to keep
No
this
way.
it's much safer
It's
in
safe.
an envelope.
Uncle Tony says it's safer here. Banks
Yep.
get robbed. Yeah.
Envelope, that's right. Envelope in the hutch. That's a much better place for it, right? Or maybe it's made behind pictures. People
the
go a little
hutch.
cuckoo about it, but behind the hutch, right? So those stock certificates, it's as awesome as they are. That's great. Where do we really prefer to see them? We prefer to see them inside your brokerage account.
Yeah.
Because if you want to sell them, you can just sell them. You
Yeah.
just call up and they go away. In your brokerage account, it's if they're in your envelope in your hutch, it's a little slower,
Little trickier.
to get those things sold.
They can.
You can do it.
Yeah,
you
you
can do it.
can.
You can run down. You can do it. They'll do it right then and there.
But you don't have to. Like
No.
there's enough accountability. There's enough government overwatch that those stocks are not going to disappear.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. They're not going
and
anywhere.
It's insured by the United States government that those stocks. Now, the value of those stocks, there's no insurance on what the value of those stocks are.
Right.
The insurance is that if you own stock and you put it inside a bank or a brokerage account and they hold those stocks for you, then they can't steal, they can't be stolen from you.
No, that's right. Now, if you open up an envelope in the next couple of weeks and you find it stuffed with stock certificates from a little-known company called Microsoft,
Yeah.
what you want to do is you want to call the Marsden Law Group, and we will
No, don't
clear
call
our
them.
calendar.
Don't
We will
don't-
clear our calendar.
Don't
We will
call them.
put you at the front of the list for a meeting that day, so we
Why?
can
'Cause
talk
you know
about.
what they're going to
That's
do?
right.
They're just going to put it in your will. They're going to say, "Who do you want to leave this little?"
Oh, we're going to have a
tiny-"
much larger conversation about that, one that equates to the idea of your bank account. But that's the one thing.
People are
Stock
going
certificates.
to be saying that about Netflix and Amazon
That's
someday.
right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, all the statements that you have from the 11 other accounts that you have, spring is a consolidation opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of the big things I wanted to talk about was statements, right?
Yep.
Statements. Everybody, and our clients, and now in the age of electronic statements and the electronic delivery of things, and it's so much more efficient. It's so much more. It's come so far over the past, even 5-10 years. The whole idea of getting and again, our industry, the securities industry, they don't
They
mess
love
around.
mail. I think they own the post office.
They don't mess around. They're like, look, we are not. No one's going to accuse us of not covering every single stone, uncovering every possible stone that needs to get communicated to our clients in the form of paper. So my clients have been complaining about it forever. And since we've changed over, this is one of the big reasons why we changed is that in the old days, the clients would get so much mail, so much, and it's statement after statement after statement after
Statement for each account. I can't consolidate them. I have to get a tax form for every. I mean, it's a headache.
So the first things first. As long as you have, I'm not saying that statements are bad, and it's not bad to hold on to and to review them. Of course, you want to do that, but the idea of holding on to statements that are over a year old,
Right.
and you've gotten 12 months since then. Or statements that are 5 years old or even 10 years old, what happens is if you ever need to go back and review something like that, something that's 10 years old, if you have it, God bless you, but you got 10 years of paper sitting downstairs in If you really need it, guess what? You know who's required to maintain those by law is required to maintain all those copies is your brokerage firm or your bank, whoever,
Yeah.
or your advisory firm that has access to this, and they can retrieve that for you. And if you need something like, if you need a 1998 August statement of your brokerage account, they can find that for you.
You call them; they won't have it right then and there for you, but they will send somebody out to Iron Mountain or wherever they keep their electronic stuff, and they'll pull one off for you.
And here's the thing: how often are you going to need that? Is it worth is it worth this like lining the walls of your basement with stacks of paper just for the odds are chance that you may actually need that at some point?
Well, and what's nice, and we talked about it earlier in the show, is you're going to keep 7 years worth of your records, right? So at the end of the year, or in April when you get your taxes done, try to take all the statements that you have that are related to your taxes for that year, stick them all in one 2018 taxes envelope, and you just put that in the file cabinet. And then then you take, by the way, the one that is now 8 years old, you take that out and you flip it in the fire pit, right? And you're done, right? That's it. That's your work, right? So you're never going to have more than 7 years of this stuff hanging around.
And this is these are your tax returns. We're not talking about, you don't need to keep 7 years of brokerage account statements.
No, but what I'm saying is you want to make it nice and easy. Apply the same formula to everything. Every 7 years, you're starting from scratch. You're tossing something out, right? And if you're following some of these consolidation ideas and these consolidation tips, now you're going to get one statement for everything. You're not going to put 15 envelopes in there. You're going to have one envelope. You're going to have one tax form. Everything's going to be on the same thing. So you're going to make your life infinitely easier from a management perspective and infinitely easier from a spring cleaning perspective.
Yeah. So so what we'll tell people is, look, keep your statements for the year. Right, for your brokerage statements, your IRA statements, keep them for the year if you want to have them, and then you can go back. But after a year, you can chuck them. And you know what? If you need it, because anything within the last, I think it's 10 years now, anything in the last 10 years, if you have had an account with our particular firm, we can get it. We can get it. We can get it, and we can have it sent to you within 5 minutes. So you don't have to. There's no reason for you to keep that stuff. And that's if you've been getting paper statements. Now, in the advent of electronic statements and having that becoming more kind of like the de jour way to do things, then get your stuff electronically.
Yeah.
And if you
want to go high end, go high end.
And if you need something, if you need paper, if you want to see something because we've had clients say, I don't want to get all the mail, but I do like getting like a quarterly statement. Then you can do it. Then tell your advisor, like, that's what I want. And you know what? You're paying those people, like, they can do that. It's because you know what? You know how much it takes? It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's easy for them to do because all they do is they go on their computer and they say, oh, look, we need the quarterly statements for the Marstons. Bam, we print it out and we put it in the mail and we mail it to them. Right? Or we can say, listen, what I'll do, you have a printer, right? I can email this to you.
In a PDF format.
I'll email it to you, and you can get it. And then if you want to print it, you can print it. Now, and we say, some people they like getting mail, and we usually put like a little note in there and say, how you did, right?
You do, candy bar, yeah.
Not a candy bar, because it doesn't travel well, especially in the summer. But yeah, like people are happy, but at least you don't have, because what happens is, as everybody knows, with all kinds of clutter, it becomes overwhelming, and then you kind of lose the understanding of what it's supposed to do. You lose kind of the importance. You lose the differentiation from one account to another, and then like Jay said before, when you pull it all out finally, it's like you're starting all over. You're like, what do I have? What is this? Oh, I don't remember what this is. Why does this? And we get this too, right? Someone will pull out a 5-year-old statement and say, why did this account was worth $602,000, and what happened? And you're like, well,
that was first of all, that was 28 years ago.
Well, here's what happened. If you remember that you bought a house in Nantucket, and whatever. Right?
Yeah, you pulled out $300,000 for another. Yeah, that's right. So so there's a method of the madness. But to your point, keep it for a little bit, but either digitize it. Oh, by the way, and you can do that. You can take all the stuff that you have.
Now you're just showing off.
Right? You want to buy a scanner? You want to go crazy? Put a scanner in your house. Decide what you want to keep and scan it to yourself, and then just save it where you want to save it. So you can chuck everything. Every once in a while, you open something up like, this I want to keep. Scan it. You get your copy of your insurance policy from your insurance company. Scan it. Put it in your insurance policy file. You don't have to keep the hard copy. If you really want to go high end, clean it all out
Yeah.
and just go digital with everything. And then just hope you don't have a good backup system.
Well, yeah, that's another show.
Yeah.
That may be out of our area of expertise.
To bring
yeah.
somebody into that.
That's not a bad idea.
Bring a guest into that.
So the last thing because we're about to wrap this up, the last thing I just want to say about the spring cleaning, and this is important, and this is one of the, again, really more just kind of understanding what I have and understanding what it is that, like on the investment side of the house, and I just want to make sure that my beneficiaries are correct, right? So if I have, let's talk about this. So if I have a bank account, right? So if I have bank accounts or if I have a brokerage account that's not inside an IRA, there's no beneficiary, but that's covered under what? It's covered under my estate plan.
That's
so
right.
If something happens to me, then my estate planner has squared that away for me, whether it goes into a trust, whether it simply just goes through probate to a will, or whether it's a joint account, or that's covered. All right. So, but the things that aren't part of my estate plan are the things like my 401k, old IRAs, things or annuities, things that have a distinct listed beneficiary. So when I do my spring cleaning and I pull out and let's say maybe I don't have the actual, annuity application, I don't have the actual like IRA application, and I just have statements, I just have stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I remember my wife has 2 IRAs, I have 2 IRAs, we have a Roth IRA, and each of us have 401ks. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 retirement accounts. Let's just make sure that the beneficiary listings are correct.
Match up.
And if we don't, and that's this probes or drives the question. So if we don't know exactly off the top of our head, or there hasn't been something like put on top of all these things that says, here's your beneficiaries as of this date, right? Just confirm. Then what do? We pick up the phone and we call our person. We say, hey, I just
Call the company, yeah.
Yep, or I can call, there's an 800 number on any one of these things. I can just say, I just, need to verify who I am and this is my account, and I just want to make sure I want you to tell me who the beneficiary is.
First you say, I listen to these 2 awesome guys on the radio. You should hire them in to do a seminar to all your members.
Say that.
And by the way, they told me to check this. That's how you want to lead.
So when you're calling PIMCO and they say, listen, who are those? Where did you get this?
Oh my God, we need to bring those guys in for a row. We need to sponsor that show, and we need to sponsor their national tour.
Yeah.
Bring that up, and that would be super
Sponsored
helpful. We appreciate
by
it.
PIMCO, not
Dinner on us, not a sponsor.
not a sponsor
Yeah,
yet.
that's
However,
right. That's right. Always an opportunity.
could be sponsoring.
Phone's right there.
our
I can see it from right here.
We love fixed accounts. We
love it. We love
fixed income. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, everybody.
All right, so
Clean it up.
So there you go. So it's Saturday. Start cleaning. Like today's a perfect day to do it.
Put some music on.
Yep, perfect day
relax.
to do
Put
it.
the
And it's not
windows.
gonna
Open the
take you-
windows. have
it's
a
not
couple
gonna take you a
drinks.
long time.
Relax. Enjoy yourself.
It's not going to take you a long time. You won't regret it.
No, you won't regret it.
You
You
won't
won't
regret it.
regret it.
And if you have any questions, please reach out to us at moneyinthelaw.net. We're happy to talk about it.
Send us your spring cleaning stories.
Yeah,
Tell
we love-
us the craziest thing you found while you were spring cleaning. Tell us what the craziest document,
And
craziest thing you found spring cleaning.
maybe we'll put it on the air. Probably not.
Nameless. Confidentiality.
Confidentiality,
Yep.
Kaharich
Yep.
with a K. We're
Yep.
not saying anything. And right.
It's good stuff.
All right. Well, so that's it. We're done
right.
for this week. Holliston Cable Access. Christian, we'll see you next week. As for all of our listeners, thank you for listening today, and thank you for watching. On behalf of Jay Marsden, I'm John Doyen. Money and Law. See you next
Have
week.
a great weekend, everybody.